JJ, you want to get started?
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Well, good, thanks. How's everything going with you guys?
Going well. Thanks for asking. Hey, get to play some basketball this week. You excited?
It's hard to put it into words, to be honest with you. You know, we've been talking for weeks and weeks. Just stay safe, stay smart, stay ready, try to control what we can control. And now the starting line is right there. You know, typically you always talk about make it to the finish line. We've been talking about let's make it to the starting line. And we're real close right now. We're real close. Our guys are excited. They're hungry and really looking forward to it.
What's been the impact that you guys have gone through with COVID? Have you guys had any positive tests or contact tracing?
Well, early on we did when we first arrived, but we've been very, very healthy. Our tests have all been negative for weeks now, so we've been good. It's been interesting. You know, we continue to give our guys the same messages to be smart, wear your masks. And it's hard. We're telling people to go back to their apartments and their dorms and just sit there. And all the years I've been coaching, we've been telling guys to get out and socialize and be involved and do different things. And now we're giving the exact opposite message. But for the most part, I think our guys have handled it very, very well. It's been hard. It was a lot harder prior to getting in the gym. I mean, for all the athletes, you know, across the country on our campus, when those seasons were taken away in the spring, it was difficult for those athletes. To not have access to the facilities was difficult. We had a lot of guys here this summer. We felt like it was a pretty safe environment for them here in town, there for a long time in San Antonio. But they couldn't get in the gym. They couldn't get in the weight room. And that was very, very tough thing emotionally on our guys.
What's the protocol as far as how many guys you could have out, or is it just you're going to do your best to try and, you know, field a team if something were to happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of playing, the league, and I haven't even seen the final vote. The league was going to put a minimum in, just like they have in with football. You have to have X number of players healthy to go and play a game. I never did. I heard what the proposal was, but I haven't heard if that's what they finally settled on. So they were still working on that about a week ago, to be honest.
Greg, go ahead.
Steve, when did you guys switch to 3 tests per week? I know you were kind of doing sporadically, and then as it got closer to games, you were going to do that.
Yeah, this past week, we've been testing on a very regular basis for quite some time. But yeah, now with Conference USA rules, 3 days a week, the week of a game, which lined up with our first opponent, the Big 12 rules as well.
So how do you evaluate the overall form of your team at this point headed into the season? How do you feel about where the group stands right now?
Yeah, we're excited. You know, it's very unusual to head into that first game without an exhibition game or a scrimmage or a combination thereof. So there's a different type of uncertainty. You know, there's stretches in practice where we're going blue team against the white team, and it's relatively even, and we don't know if that's a great sign for our depth or if that's a concerning sign for our main group. But I like the way our guys have competed defensively. The mentality, the mindset has been good on that end of the floor. I hope to see that carry over on Wednesday against a good Oklahoma club. Again, we'd like to have had a chance to try that out on a different opponent in a scrimmage or an exhibition game, but we'll find out a lot on Wednesday night and see if we can carry that over. But they've been flying around. They seem to be covering a lot of ground on the defensive end, moving from strong side to the weak side a little quicker maybe than we had in the past. And again, with some of our lineups, we have more length out there on the wings and more length on the perimeter, which allows us to cover more ground.
What did you learn from the blue-white scrimmage? Anything that stood out there in particular about the team?
No, nothing real drastic. That was a good day for us for a lot of reasons. Even the COVID situation, just how what's going to look like in the locker room, what the bench setup is going to be like. I think it allowed Josh Monica, our trainer, to see how we want to handle the logistics of the game. But the scrimmage itself, there weren't a lot of surprises. We're going to continue to be good when we get out and transition and spread the floor. The ball's moving very, very well right now. I think that's been when we've been at our best on the offensive end is just simply when we're getting the ball side to side and different guys are making plays, different guys are handling the ball. We can put out some lineups there where all 5 guys can just make plays. And that doesn't mean scoring necessarily, but just get the ball moving, drive it, kick it, swing it, seal. And we've had some good offensive possessions. And again, the focus has been on the defensive end.
Yeah, the players talked about that as well, that defensive focus. Do you see a big difference there, and maybe what sort of things are changing compared to previous years?
Well, we hope so. Again, that's the big question right now is whether it's going to translate when we play against a really good team, which we will on Wednesday. So, again, just the more emphasis from the coaching staff. Started with me, making sure we're getting more of that time in practice every day. Their commitment, their understanding that we can't accomplish what we want to accomplish unless we become a really good defensive team. And our personnel is a little bit different. Again, the lineups could give us a chance to look a lot different on the defensive end. A lot of times we go in to play a Power 5 opponent and we're drastically outsized at multiple positions. And our projected starting lineup, lining up against Oklahoma's, who we think they may start, we will not be drastically smaller at very many positions.
Yeah, what jumps out about Oklahoma in that matchup? Is there anything in particular you guys have to key in on?
Well, we know that, Manick and Reeves have been key offensive players for them in the past, both veteran guys, both guys with great experience, great talent on the offensive end. So we know we have to lock in on those guys. And there's some question marks after that. Very, very talented guys across the board, but guys that maybe haven't had quite as big a roles as they will be expected to have this year. So we're fairly familiar with most of their guys, but we don't know what lineups they'll go with, what matchups they'll try to throw out there. Brady Manick's a guy that we know can play a lot of minutes at the 4 or the 5, and he creates mismatch concerns wherever he's at. Do they start him at the 4 and go with a real big lineup? Do they start him at the 5? So we won't know that until right before, we assume, until the starting lineups are circled in the scorebook.
How do you view the challenge of starting with such a strong opponent? Is that an advantage compared to maybe easing in with a different type of open to the schedule, or is that a disadvantage for you guys?
Well, it's exciting. I know that. I don't know. I don't know all the advantages of it. If we wake up Thursday morning 1-0 against Oklahoma, we'll feel really, really good. I know that. But again, we know they're not going to play 40 minutes of zone. They're not going to hold the ball. We know enough about Coach Kruger, and so we have some patterns, some history there. We kind of know what style of play to expect. But yeah, I think it's exciting. We've had this game circled for months and months. We had the longest preseason, ever. So we've been locked in on them for a long time, and our guys are going to be excited to play. But it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter who we were lining up to play. Our guys are hungry, and to get to this point, we're not there yet. We're real close. We still have to get our results back from our most recent test, and we've got to get on the airplane, and they have to get their most recent tests back. I was on Twitter earlier today, and it seemed like every 30 minutes there was more bad news from different teams pulling out of games and canceling games. So it's a very uncertain time, to say the least.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. There's been just today so much different news, and I think I saw somewhere like 40 different teams within the last couple of weeks have had to put a pause on practices. Do you have concern for the state of the season and just the ability for college basketball to work this year?
Well, we do. We do. I mean, every coach has got those concerns right now. You try not to dwell on it. Just try to stay prepared. We've been talking for months about being ready to pivot, being ready to handle adversity, being ready to make changes, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just the nature of it. We've been watching it with football. Football's been an easy model for us. I follow football scores, and I look up and check the Saturday scores, and there for a while there were 4 games canceled. Then there were 6 games canceled. Last weekend I think there were 12 games canceled. So we're following that, and it's been fascinating watching Coach Traylor and our guys, how they've handled it. They've done a tremendous job with it. They stayed ready to play. They pivoted there early in the season and lost a game and found out on a Friday night who their following Saturday opponent was, and they lined up and played good football. So we're going to try to do the same thing. Control what we can control, be ready, try to be a good basketball team, and play as many games as we can.
Do you feel like you at least structured your schedule in such a way that gives you a chance to succeed in that sense? Do you think you've set yourself up well in that way?
It was hard. It was really, really – yes, we do. Hopefully we'll play as many as we can. Now, we chose not to play in an MTE, which means we're set up, if everything goes normally, we're set up to play 2 fewer games than we could have had we played in an MTE. That was a decision we made. We just felt like we wanted to control things the best that we could. And I don't know at this point, and I don't think anybody will know for several weeks whether that was a good decision or not, but we didn't want to be involved in a situation where we were going to be impacted by even more factors than we already are being impacted by.
Did that scheduling challenge prove to be just as tough as you anticipated, maybe more, maybe less? How did it play out overall?
Beyond description how hard it was. Just everything is connected. If one team thinks they're done and you're playing them, and then all of a sudden they're involved in an MTE and they lose their MTE, then they're changing their schedule. You're changing dates. You're changing opponents. Everything is kind of intertwined, and the ripple effect has been extremely, extremely difficult. Just backing up the season 2 weeks, immediately knocked out a few games from our schedule. Oklahoma was our original opening night opponent. We lost them. We worked really hard to reschedule that game. That's just one small example, but there were tons of those situations. We looked at possible MTEs. We looked at some other scenarios. And finally, just settled on this. And we tried to stay a little bit more regional, maybe than we typically would. The idea of not flying across the country a whole bunch of times early on in the season, we thought would be a smart idea. So now, with that being said, we're flying to Oklahoma tomorrow. We're flying home Thanksgiving Day, and there'll probably be a lot of people in the airports, and we're going to wear our mask every second that we're in the airport, and again, try to do the best that we can.
It seems like you ended up in kind of a tough situation where you're going to play your home opener Friday afternoon, and then 24 hours later you have to be in the Valley. How did that come together, or is that a concerning stretch for you guys?
Again, it wasn't ideal. The last adjustment to the schedule we made was to put that game in there on this Friday. 3 games in 4 days with a trip home from Oklahoma on Thanksgiving Day, with a bus ride down to RGV Friday night. Yeah, it's not what you would typically do, but again, just the way that things are going right now is we thought, hey, let's try to get 3 games in this week, get 3 games under our belt. That was the best way to do it.
Last one for me is you guys were picked to finish 9th in the conference this year. Is that something you talked to the guys about, or what's the message related to that?
I don't think we talked about it. I assume most of them saw that, and it's pretty easy just to tell them why, it's because people think we're going to defend the way we did a year ago. We lost a couple good players. They think we're going to defend at a level that wasn't good enough. So hopefully that made us a little more hungry, give us a little more motivation. We're not the type that's going to stick that up on the bulletin board and get too carried away with it. We're going to concern ourselves with trying to get better every day. But we know we have to be a better defensive team. Again, the rebounding deal right now is another thing that's so hard to evaluate when you're going against yourselves. If the white squad gets an offensive rebound, is that because we've got some great offensive rebounders over there, or is it because the blue squad didn't block them out? It's really, really hard to do that without getting an opponent. And I think we'll know a lot more about ourselves, hopefully by Saturday. Hopefully we play 3 games. You got, quite the contrast in opponents there. So I think it'll give us a real good cross-section, and we'll learn a lot and then get ready to take what we learned and build on that.
Coach, I just had this is Jerry. I just had one question on the importance of playing OU. Guys, I asked Keaton, you guys have won some really big games within your conference the past few years. Old Dominion, you won Western Kentucky. You've won some big ones within your conference, but never have you beaten any of these Power Fives in your time at UTSA. And just wanted to ask if you could address the importance of what it would mean to your program to be able to beat the Sooners on opening night.
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to try to schedule a few of those games, a few of those opponents. It's fun for our kids. We like going to some of these places. You know, the comfort, again, the comfort with Oklahoma, just the familiarity. We kind of know what to expect from style of play standpoint, and vice versa. I think they know we're not going to come in there and hold the ball on them and try to work the clock, things like that. So you want to set up some good matchups in the non-conference. But yeah, it's always a good measuring stick for us, and also prepares us. Like you said, we want to learn from these opportunities. We played well in stretches against a lot of these opponents: Oklahoma, Nebraska, Arkansas. There were stretches fairly deep into the second half in those ball games where we were right there in it. We just haven't found a way to finish it off and get a win yet against them. But you know, we're not going to go in there and tiptoe around. We're not going to try to go in there and sneak out a win. We're going to go in there and line up and fight and play it away and play our style and try to go right in there and take it.
All right. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.